And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the always pressing PGA DFS podcast. This week, we'll be previewing the WGC Bridgestone Invitational, 73-man field, 0 cuts, last no-cut event before the playoffs. In order to do so, I'll be joined by my co-host, as always, Jesse. How we doing, man?
I'm doing well, dude. I got the fresh fade, trying to go for the DJ / Spieth fresh fade bump. So I'm hoping to help my performance tonight on the podcast.
Yeah, I saw you had the slick look going there, like you had something important going on, but it's for the golf game.
I'm talking sense. An hour ago. I told the wife, I was like, I need the bump.
A little outcast, so fresh and so clean. I like it. Yeah, because like you segued, you're becoming a pro at this now. We'll recap the Canadian Open real quick. It won't be nearly the recap we had for the Open Championship, but Dustin Johnson is about all you really need to say. It was absolutely impressive. We talked about it on last week's podcast, how he's played well here. He really wants to win here. He even said it in his post-round interview that this meant a lot to him and his family. So he roundabout way said this one for Wayno and family. So it made a lot of sense, and it was impressive. What are your thoughts on DJ's just pure domination?
Yeah, that was like you said, domination. He started off kind of slow, but obviously finished the tournament very well. I don't know. Did you get to watch any of it on Sunday at all?
Briefly on Saturday, and I watched the last, I think, 10 holes or so on Sunday, thanks to the rain delay.
So you saw 16 when he hit it over in the left rough.
Yeah,
and then 181 is what they're showing, and then he pulls a pitching wedge 181 downhill lie out of the rough and hits it 191.
Well, yeah, it's why I also thought on 18 when it's a par 5 and he's like 156 out after his drive and he hits a pitching wedge like just an absolute dart. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, he's man. I mean, when his putter's working, like literally, I don't know if he's beatable. And he putted well all week, so or at least well for him. Yeah, pretty well all over.
Well, and that's been his thing. We saw it at the U.S. Open when the putter kind of fell apart on the last couple over the weekend. He lost the tournament. He could have ran away with that if he putted normally. I'd say even at the Open Championship, he had a couple, bonehead drives and stuff. But I bet you if he put just slightly better, he makes the cut and he could have done the Justin Rose. So
yeah,
scary good.
I agree with that. I mean, he made a run at the Open too, and I mean, one of the things too about him last week, especially on DraftKings, was he was 36% owned or something like that. So, I mean, everybody was on board, and there was good reason. I mean, he's head and shoulders above everybody in the field. Let me ask you this: what do you think about the lack of like difficult courses on the PGA Tour? Because it seems like unless we're at a major, like we're 20 under par.
It's getting pretty crazy. It really is. And, they went through the whole tiger proofing thing and you've got to make courses longer and all that. And as we obviously know, all these guys do are bomb the ball. Now, I think it'd almost be more challenging if they weren't able to bomb the ball, like make them actually hit shots.
Yeah.
And I think it could change things a little bit. We'll talk about this week's event actually plays into that kind of quite a bit. But it is. And, it kind of is and it isn't. I think we feel it is based on the last month and a half. Because earlier in the year, we weren't seeing crazy scores like 20 under and stuff. We were seeing guys score, yes, but we weren't seeing just automatically guys throwing darts everywhere and just stuff sticking and making it so easy. But yes, I agree. There are a ton of web.com type tournaments out there this time of year.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like to watch guys make birdies and stuff like that, but I also like to see them, a little challenged. I mean, 23 under par, it's a nutty number to me,
Well, any course where you can hit a wedge like that and still get to the green, it wasn't a punishing factor, basically.
Right.
Like that shouldn't be allowed. Is what it comes down to. But hey, when you're that good, you're that good. Now here's a stat. I saw a bunch of them yesterday, and I already forgot most of them. But one that just stood out to me, and I even tweeted out something about it. He has won 10 tournaments in his last 43 starts. That's insane.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And I saw one thing where it's his 19th win. So if he gets one more win, he's a lifetime member of the PGA Tour.
Yep, never lose his card. And that's an awesome account. He's 34 years old and he might have a lifetime exemption.
Right.
That's pretty damn good right there.
That's a lot of pressure off, I mean, that's
yeah.
You can go out and just play when you want to, or obviously you have to play by the rules, but
let's have fun with it now. He's got what, say 7 tournaments left, maybe. Does he get there by the end of this year?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would lean yes. I mean, he's won
I
what
do too. He's
three times this year already.
And he's been in contention elsewhere too. He should have won Pebble.
Yeah,
you should never have lost that.
right.
I think he gets it this year. He's lights out right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's his worst finish. Well, besides the missed cut, obviously missed cut at the Open Championship, but his worst finish was the Players 17th, Heritage 16th. Other than that, I mean, he's top 10 in everything besides the missed cut. The Open.
And then it's the 3rd straight year he's won 3 or more tournaments. The only other guy to do that, Tiger Woods. So we're watching. This is as close to what we got to watch with Tiger that we've seen in a long time.
Oh yeah. I'd say he's the closest. I mean, Rory made a run there for a little while. If he could find a putter, I think he would be right up there contending with DJ. So we'll talk about that this week too.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Now, the last one, I guess I'll say, and then we can hit on any other guys if we want, or we can move on. Who do you think the next in line to DJ is? Because we saw Tiger, little break, DJ. Are they out there right now? Do you see anybody out there that's got this in them, or is it just kind of we'll have to wait?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really good question because it's just so difficult to play golf at that high of a level for so long. I mean, you look at somebody like Jordan Spieth, who had a really, really good 2-year run, and he's kind of come back down to earth. Jason Day, same thing. I would say Jon Rahm. I do think he has some growing up to do. So, but I mean, he's definitely young enough where he could get to that level, I think. So Rahm would be my guy if I was to pick one. Potentially Brooks, but I mean Brooks, I don't know, man. I mean, coming off that miss, he should not have missed the cut last week.
No, that's a tournament you don't miss the cut.
Yeah. I mean, that's just really poor. So, but Brooks could too. I mean, obviously back-to-back U.S. Open champion. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, it'll be fun to watch. It's the players we talk about all the time. There's a lot of really talented guys. It just shows how much of a different level Dustin's at, which is just crazy. Any other takeaways from the weekend? We got, Benny on doing his thing. A bunch of other guys kind of hanging around. Fleetwood played okay. Nothing crazy special unless something stood out to you.
Nothing besides my call on Hudson Swafford. I'm just going to go ahead and retout the fact that I touted Hudson Swafford.
That a boy. You're one of the few, and it worked out very, very well.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's move along. And what did you have up your sleeve for FanShare this week?
So I went back and looked at several different things, including like the ownership gradient. And one of the things about, if you look at ownership in different contests, obviously it's not the same across very many contests. And quite often you can identify players who are the quote unquote sharp plays by seeing the guys who are less owned in the $5 and more so owned in like the 444 than 2120. And then we had 2 this week, and that was pretty. I haven't seen it happen over the last 3 or 4 months. DJ being one, he was considered. I mean, obviously he was an obvious play, but he was significantly higher owned in the higher dollar contest than he was in the lower dollar contest. The other being Cameron Champ. Is it Cameron Champ?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went back and kind of looked at the last 4 months and how those guys did, and the majority of the time when you have a massive difference between, like, say, the $5 and the 2120, those guys are making the cut. At least 7 of the last 9 have, with Champ being one of the ones who didn't, but he missed the cut on the number, so he wasn't too far off. But it was interesting to me that he was like that. And then I also looked at some ownership from last year too, at this event, because it's a small field, no cut. Ownership is a pretty big factor, so I went back and looked at some ownership there. So check it out on FanShare.
Yeah, go check it out. The ownership tools there are outstanding. Jesse's work's been really, really good over there. But it was one thing we were kind of talking about in the Slack chat on Wednesday night last week is we were trying to guess ownership and kind of relations to what FanShares got out there. And we both thought, some things were kind of high, some things weren't here and there. And it was crazy how accurate they were because in a field where there were so many options, and when you saw the final leaderboard, it was kind of spread out. But when it came to Thursday morning, there was a definite group of favorite golfers out there that stood out. A lot of 20% plus guys. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, it was. I think that they said it was either one of their best weeks or their
It was
best
their
week
best.
ever. Yeah.
It was their best.
So pretty impressive from them. And I mean, that's, ownership it plays a vital part. And if you're not looking at it, you're really kind of just the thing about anymore with golf, especially DFS in general, is the edge is going away slowly. I think it's gone way downhill in golf this year. You got to hit the winner. You got to have a bunch of top teners in order to make big time money. And so any edge you can find, whether that be through some ownership projections or whatever, I think it's worth, taking paying attention to.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning because, like you said, this week it will be important to kind of pay attention to it in a small field where everyone makes the cut. And it's not, and we've said over and over how it's been really, really chalky this year.
Yeah.
And, if you don't want to fade the chalk, it's been successful. At the same time, if you look at it, you can look where the chalk's at, look at a pivot point. And I bet you if you go back on almost every tournament within a couple $100 of each chalk guy, there's been someone that's been just as good or better that just wasn't put in that lineup to finish so high that would have made you jump over those guys. That's kind of what we're trying to tell you. It's not just like, hey, you have to fade the chalk. It's if you do these little minor things, that's the edge Jesse's talking about that still you can find that you can't find elsewhere. Because there's hundreds of podcasts. There's hundreds of websites giving you content that will help you at least give you a number of players. But it's the edges you gain by that material that you can gain can differentiate from everybody else. That's what we're getting at with that one.
I mean, it's tough, dude. Like this is, and I don't know that we'll ever go back to where you can legitimately fade the chalk all the time. I don't know. I think that the tools out there now with Fantasy National and everything else that all the other sites that are available, like you said, I think it's just the edge is like legitimately gone. So you got to just figure out some other way. And if that's a pivot, down the 7K range or something like that, that's what, it's what you got to do.
And that's kind of what we try to help with here is it's not that you have to fade all the chalk and you don't have to pivot in a certain area, but it's when we go through the pricing at each level, we're trying to give you plays that, hey, maybe you really like the 9K guys. Well, down here in 7Ks, there's like 5 guys you can pick from instead of 9K where you have 2. It gives you options to and each week's going to be different based on how the pricing comes out. And that's all it is. It's not just like, hey, you have to go here or here or make your guy at $6,800 different. That's not what it is. You 36% played DJ last week. Like you said, you still want a GPP if you play DJ.
Oh yeah,
you just made it different elsewhere.
And you had to have him. You had to have him, or else you were basically sunk.
And the last thing I'll say, because people might think we're beating a dead horse, but I'm trying to just kind of drive it home, is you mentioned all those tools like Fantasy National and everything, and what those tools are great at is giving you the top plays at a deal. So obviously, if many people are using the same tool, thus the chalk situation we have come across.
That's right.
So that's all it is, and we'll keep talking about it. And if you guys have any strategy questions or whatever, just let us know. We have no problem going back and forth and talking about stuff like that. It's kind of fun to get away from just the typical, hey, here's what we're going to do tonight, and take it a little different from time to time. So let's talk about the WGC Bridgestone Invitational. Jesse, it's in Akron, Ohio. Give us some past event history.
Yeah, so in Akron, Firestone Golf Course is golf course, right? Country Club. Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. Firestone Country Club. Last year, Hideki Matsuyama shot 16 under. He beat Zach Johnson by 5 shots. He shot 61 bogey free on Sunday. And if I remember correctly, probably tilted me to death. He was top 10 in ownership last year too, but either way, 16 under, 5 shots over ZJ. 2016 champion was Dustin Johnson. He shot -6. I'm guessing there was some weather that year, or at least it was really windy, I would imagine. He beat Scott Piercy by 1 shot. 2015, Shane Lowry, 11 under, 2 shots over Bubba Watson. And other winners, Rory McIlroy, some guy named Tiger Woods has won this a couple times. Keegan Bradley's won this before. Adam Scott's a past winner too, but Tiger's won it 5 times. No, eight times. Excuse me.
8 times.
I just didn't scroll down. Didn't scroll down far.
Yeah, you got to keep going and going and going because he's just getting someone. Someone tweeted out today like there's only like 5 guys that ever beat him at this tournament at this course. He's played the course 12 or 13 times.
I'm guessing. I mean, he won. His last win was in 2013, and he won by 7 shots.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually we get into the course preview here. It's the South Course at Firestone Country Club. It's a par 70, 7,400 yards, the longest or one of the longest. It kind of depends year to year, but usually the longest par 70 the PGA Tour will face. It is ridiculous. It is a accuracy course. Pars are very good. Bogey avoidance is tremendously important here. The average score last year was 69.76. So a quarter of a point under par was the average score at this golf course. That tells you a lot of how it can go one way or the other real quick for people. The Matsuyama low score, we got some rain last year. I was reading up on that, and it made the course really, really soft. That's why he went low. Usually you're going to get kind of a high single-digit low, like 11 under type score. Nothing too crazy. You got bent grass greens with some POA overlay, and these greens are smaller with some false fronts and very, very fast, usually at least 13 on the stimp meter. So they're super hard to hit, let alone stick on there. So greens and regulation, very, very important. Tee to green game, very, very important. The fairways are very tight. Some seem like if you're sitting on a tee box, you might wet yourself because you'd be so scared because there's trees all over that line the fairways and make it very, very, very difficult. You can bomb it. If you keep it straight, you're going to be just fine. But accuracy is key off the tee box. You start getting in trouble, it makes it very challenging. It is a par 70, like I said, so there's only 2 par 5s. The front 9, you can get there, and it's birdieable. You need to birdie it, but it's not super easy to birdie. It's not like last week by any means. But the crazy one is nicknamed the Monster by one Arnold Palmer, the 16th. It is 667 yards. It is not reachable into by pretty much anybody on this course. If they do, it'll be a sight to see because there's even water around the green to make it more fun for you. So that's one. The average score on that par 5, the 16th, was over par last year on a par 5, which is pretty wild. There's 7 par 4s that are over 460 yards on average. So par is really, really good there because those 7 par 4s play over par combined as well. So it is a very challenging course. You want to keep it straight, keep it in the fairway, and try to stick it or run it up to the greens as best you can because sticking it is not easy. Shooting par is a good thing here. So as a 73-person field, we'll have to remember that when we talk a little more strategy here in a little bit. And it's the last year at this course. Is next year it heads to Memphis, where remember DJ had the walk-off winner earlier this year on his eagle from the fairway. What are some key stats you're looking for this week, Jesse?
Yeah, DraftKings points, proximity. I'll be looking at a lot of course history too. There's plenty of it here. And bogey avoidance is another one. Like you just said, pars are okay around this golf course.
Yeah, pars are very, very good. DraftKings scoring, yes, because like we keep saying, it's a no-cut event. So points, because all guys are playing all 4 rounds. So, if a guy just shoots 2 under par, even though the final score is maybe -6, but he doesn't do much all week, might not help you out. So you want those Tony Finau's and Justin Thomases of the world, and we'll talk about them later. But those big-time scorers are guys you want. And then I'm looking at like tee to green and I can't even think. Like strokes gained approach are the kind of guys I'm looking for this week. So it'll be very, very interesting on this course with the best of the best. Top 50 in the world are playing, plus 73 overall, like you've mentioned. Let me give you a little fan share info here because this will kind of help if we want to think about DraftKings points in general. Last year at this event, when you talk about DraftKings sports points, the top 10 point scores, and some of these guys might not be in the field this year. I just want to tell you who the top 10 were. You had Hideki Matsuyama with 136 DraftKings points. He obviously won the event. But you have Charlie Hoffman at 103.5, Zach Johnson 102, Russell Knox, Tomas Peters, Paul Casey, Adam Hadwin, Hudson Swafford, Rory McIlroy, and Thorben Olsen. And they're obviously that wasn't 1 through 10 finishing. So you got to think about stuff like that. If you look for guys that are in this field only, it's Hideki, Hoffman, ZJ, Knox, Casey, Hadwin. So pretty much the normal suspects, but Jason Day and Ricky Fowler creep in. Now the part, if you want to play recent form type deal, you're talking about average DraftKings scoring in your last 3 events on tour that are in this field. Your top scorers are Francesco Molinari's averaging 121.5 points in his last 3. You got Fleetwood, DJ, Benny On, Zach Johnson, Kevin Na, Tony Finau, Charlie Hoffman, Justin Rose, and then here's one that might stand out too. He's averaging 70 points on average in his last 3. Ryuko Tokimatsu. That's the number 10th guy in this field in average DraftKings points in his last 3 weeks. That stood out to me quite a bit. And then I usually don't go 6 deep, but considering how this field's a little different, I'm going to go the last 6 events. Your number 1 guy is DJ, averaging 95. Justin Rose, Molinari's 3rd. Kevin Na creeps in there at 4th. Fleetwood's 5th. Koepka 6th. Jason Day, Finau. Tiger Woods is 9th. And then Henrik Stenson is 10th. So if you kind of look at those two, you get a couple different names in there. You got some of the regular suspects, but there's a couple in there that really caught my attention that I already had penciled in as plays that we'll talk about more in a bit. But DraftKings points, very, very important, as you said. Let's get into it. 10K and above DraftKings pricing. You got DJ at 11.7, McIlroy at 11.3, Tiger Woods at 10.8, Justin Rose at 10.7, Jordan Spieth at 10.4, and Ricky Fowler at 10,000. Where are you going, Jesse?
This is what makes it kind of fun because you got to pick your poison up top here, right? I think one of the best plays, if ownership wise, will probably be Rory. He's always under-owned, and he's sandwiched in between Tiger and DJ. I can see DJ probably being 20% plus. I think Tiger will probably be 30% plus just based on his course history and his recent form. I mean, he's playing good golf too. He's not winning, but he's playing very well. And then you add in the course history, and that usually spells super high owned. I will throw one thing in about Tiger Woods. I've been playing golf on Yahoo, and I'm only going to say this on this podcast, but Tiger Woods is $25 on Yahoo. So just to give you some, just to make that make sense, Dustin Johnson is $47 on Yahoo. So he's $22 less than Dustin Johnson. So I can see him being super high owned, but that's where I'm going to get most of my Tiger exposure because it's just hard to pass up. He might be 75% owned, but whatever. So the plays for me here, I think, are Rory. I don't mind Justin Rose at all. DJ, I like. Obviously, he's playing very well. I just don't know. I just don't think I can do Tiger on DraftKings.
No, I feel you. DJ is obviously the best one to me. It'll definitely depend on ownership because I feel you don't know because 11.7 is interesting because if you get down below 7K, it gets real shaky. So maybe he'll be lower owned.
It's not like last week. Last week it was easy to fit DJ in.
Yep. Exactly.
I did think that him being the highest pricing coming off the missed cut, it would lower his ownership down, but that was totally false. He was the second highest owned golfer on the slate.
Very good reason. So, I definitely love DJ. I'll be fading Tiger Woods yet again. Justin Rose is my next guy at 10.7. Absolutely love Rose. To me, he's got a great shot to win this. We saw what he did at the Open coming back there. When you're talking about ball striking, talking about accuracy, talking to a guy that birdie or better or bogey avoidance. This guy's just he's near the top in almost everywhere you look. He's been very, very good. He's 12 events here. He has 6 top 25s and 4 top 10s. He's playing some of the best golf in the world right now. So at 10.7, this is a guy I can definitely get behind. I think the chalkiest guy up here might be Rory McIlroy. Ricky Fowler. Sorry, Ricky Fowler.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Yeah, his name's everywhere right now. So
he was
that one.
He was the highest owned last year at this event too. Another interesting pivot would be Spieth, but I don't know. I got to see more out of Jordan before I think I'm ready to.
I looked at him a lot just because when you're looking at guys that are accurate and greens and reg and all that kind of stuff, he stands out quite a bit. And he did show us signs at the Open.
Right.
But then he also showed me signs towards the end there when he unraveled. Yeah. And that brought back so many memories of the last, 6 months or so, a year of Jordan Spieth. So I think I'll just keep watching from a distance like I said at the Open with Justin Thomas. If he wins the event, I'll be on the sidelines watching, and I'll say congratulations.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I don't think that he'll be chalky enough to bury you if you do fade him. But he does have good finishes here: 13th, 3rd, and 10th his last 3 years. So he obviously is okay on this golf course.
But I don't hate him as a pivot. That's for sure. If you want to pivot off to him, and if you're going super contrarian, I think he's a great play up here. But I think I'm going to pivot elsewhere, kind of like we talked about earlier.
I think if you've got if you're playing 100 lineups in the $5 something, I would maybe take 20%, and then that way, because it's hard for me to see him being above 10. He might be right around 10, potentially 15, but I think you'll be able. If you get 20%, you would be, more than everybody else.
No, definitely. I agree with that. So DJ, Rose, and moving on from there, let's go into the 9Ks. We got 5 golfers to pick from. Jason Day's at 9,800, John Rahm 96, Molinari 94, Fleetwood 92, Stenson 9,000. This is a solid range as usual. Who are you looking at here in the 9,000s?
Yeah, I mean Molinari obviously he just took a vacation, so he's still the hottest golfer in the world. I mean, I don't know what he's been doing, but he's only a week removed from winning the Open Championship. So I do like Molly and Fleetwood. Obviously, he's coming in playing well also. So it's hard to not play those two. And I think that potentially, if you start with those two and stack those two together, you might be able to, even if they're 20% owned, you might be able to get a little bit different down low and be a little bit different as far as. I don't think many people will stack those two. I think a lot of people are going to start up top, DJ, Tiger, Rose, and then move down. So if you start there and then move down, I could get you a little different.
Yeah, I'm with you. The 2 guys I'm targeting here is I wanted to put Stenson, but I don't know. I would imagine by now his wrist is feeling better. I haven't heard anything about it since the Open, but you could tell he wasn't the same guy that weekend. He made the weekend, and then it just kept unraveling. So the 2 guys I'm really targeting here, you mentioned Molinari and Fleetwood. And it's not just my love affection for Francesco Molinari, that cute little Italian that he is, but when you're talking about a guy with accuracy, ball striking, that's him. Like you the description you want for a golfer at this course is Francesco Molinari,
right.
And I absolutely love everything about this at $9,400. And then Fleetwood, I agree, he's been slowly getting there. He still has those tournaments where he has that one round where you're just like, God, if you could have just played half decent that round, you'd really have it. Even this last weekend, he was the same way. But the Open, he did it. The U.S. Open, he did it. He's real close to coming through and breaking one out here. So Molinari and Fleetwood, I love. I like the idea, like you said, of pairing them up because it's not going to be very popular at all. So those are the 2 I'm looking at. John Rahm and Jason Day, they just spray it too much for me right now on this course that I could see them getting in some serious trouble right now. But, I'm just going to say it now instead of saying it over and over. When you have the top 50 in the world, anybody can win this event. So be realistic about that. Like, would you be shocked? No, but Molinari and Fleetwood are the 2 I'm looking at here.
Did you hear Fleetwood splits on the front 9 versus the back 9 last week?
No.
He played the front 9 at 4 over par and the back 9 at 20 under par.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It seemed like more guys were going under on the front until the par 5s, like on the last 3 holes on the back. Yeah,
well, those 3 par 5s on the back.
Valley
or whatever. Holes. I mean, he eagled, I think in the first round, he eagled 3 out of 4 par 5s. So, I mean, that helped him. But either way, I mean, 20 under on the backside there. If he just plays that even par, he finishes, inside the top 5 or whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Let's get into the 8K range here. You got the U.S. Open champion Brooks Koepka at $8,900. Justin Thomas, the number 3 player in the world, is $8,800 on DraftKings. Let that sink in for a minute. Alexander North, 87. Casey, 86. Bubba Watson, 85. The defending champion Hideki Matsuyama is 84. Patty Reed, the Masters champion, is 83. Cantlay's 82. ZJ's 81. Finau's 8,000. This, I think, is where you can do your differentiating off the chalk area right here. What are you looking at in the 8Ks, Jesse?
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how highly touted Brooks is because, I mean, obviously coming off a terrible week, miscut at a place where, he should just dominate with 4 par 5s that are reachable and everybody else just eagling and birdieing everywhere, and he shoots 77. I'm confused as to what's going on with him. So, I mean, I don't know how much I'll have of him at all. I mean, he's not bad on my model, but I just don't know what's going on there. I mean, he could most definitely bounce back, and like you just said, I wouldn't be surprised if he won. JT at 8,800 is just ridiculous, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, $8,800 for Justin Thomas. I know he's not playing great recently, but he's still Justin Thomas. He normally scores DraftKings points in bunches. You can usually count on him for a really low round, especially in these no-cut events. He just comes out of nowhere quite often. He may not finish well, but he'll score a lot of, he'll make a lot of birdies and throw in a lot of bogeys along the way. So I do like Justin Thomas at 8,800. I think he's definitely worth a shot in this event. Other than that, obviously Paul Casey. I think it's okay to go back to Bubba. I'm not really sure I watched a lot of his golf last week and it was tilting me, and I had a lot of him in lineups and it tilted it even worse. But either way, I think it's okay to go back to Bubba. Cantlay, I think, is an all right play at 8,200. Reed maybe, but I mean, for me, like in this area for sure, Paul Casey, JT, Bubba would be the three.
Okay. I had someone ask me, he's in our Slack chat and on Twitter, asked me earlier today, what do you think Thomas's ownership is? He thought over 50%. And I said, no, that might be in the big money tournaments, but you don't see many 50s regardless of tournaments.
Right.
I'm saying he's going to be around 30. What do you think?
Well, so that's that. I had somebody else asking me about that and on Twitter in a DM, asking me if I thought he was going to be chalky. I think it goes one of two ways. Either he is 30% or he's below, 20%. Because his recent form coming in is, I mean, he's really not that good. He's not that good on this golf course. He's got a miscut. Obviously, he finished 8th at the Open de France, but 56th, 25th, 8th in his last few. And 28th and 33rd in his last 2 events at this golf course. So that's not great by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's going to be. And then obviously too, you start floating around the word chalk to everybody, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to fade him. I'm not going to play him." Okay, well then that lowers the ownership down. So I don't know. I think it's not going to be as bad as everybody else thinks.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see how that develops on FanShare throughout the week with Logan's ownership projections. Because, if he does come in even 20 or less, he becomes much more playable, in my opinion. So
I agree.
That'll be that because, like we said earlier, we hinted at it, and then you said it, is we know time and time again. I at least he used to be. I haven't checked in a couple tournaments. He was always the highest DraftKings guy on average in no cut events. This is what he does.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. But for me, so that's my story on Thomas. Depends on ownership there. I think he's a play. But I think Alexander Noren's an interesting player at $8,700. He's a kind of a tee to green guy as well, playing much better of late. T17, a first, T25, T23, T3. He had that hiccup kind of mid-season. He's starting to find that groove again. T28 here last year. So I can definitely look at Noren at 8,700. Paul Casey's always a guy when you're looking at tee to green and accuracy. So I'm definitely on board with Casey, of course. That's they got the AP seal of approval on that one. So Noren, Casey, Cantlay, I think might be another one of the popular ones down here. I'm seeing a lot of guys want to even bet him to win this event. But I love Finau when it comes to DraftKings scoring. This guy is a point machine time and time again. And he's getting more and more accurate. And in these big-time fields, big-time players, he's been showing up lately. So at 8K, I like some Finau. And then I'm going to leave the best for last, Zach Johnson. He finished second here last year. He finished T10 here the year before. 5 years ago, he was T4 here. He's coming in. He's been T19 or better in 4 straight tournaments he's played in. This guy is a guy that hits it right down the middle, plays smart golf. He avoids bogeys. He can be right there in the mix at the end again over the weekend. So this 8K range is a wheelhouse for me. I absolutely love it. So Noren, Casey, ZJ, Finau, maybe keep an eye on Thomas, but Johnson's my favorite one, ZJ, in this range.
That's another reason why I think JT's ownership won't be as high as everybody expects, because there are plenty of plays. I mean, you got Paul Casey right there below at 8,600, Patrick Reed, the defending champion, Hideki Matsuyama. So I don't know. It's just hard for me to see Justin being uber chalk. I mean, the highest guy in this field last year, I think, was like 26% owned. And that was Ricky Fowler at 10K or whatever.
And that's true. With so much great talent out there, it can definitely spread itself out for you without you having to worry too much about it. And in a field like this, with everyone making the cut, you're going to need the winner, a couple top fivers. So you have to get weird with it.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk 75 and above. You got Leishman, X-Man, DeChambeau, Kuchar, Brennan Grace, Webb Simpson, Charlie Hoffman, Olsen, Usti, and Adam Scott. Jesse, who are you looking at 75 and above?
Just from like a pure, so I never get Xander right. I do like him this week, but every time I play him, he's not good. I think he's interesting at $7,900 though. Bryson, did you see any of like the recent videos of Bryson acting a donkey on the golf course out there?
Yeah, it wasn't a good look at all. Was I surprised? No, but it wasn't a good look at all.
He finished 60th here last year. Course history guys won't like him as much, but he shot 78 at the European Open last weekend. I don't know. I mean, that might be an okay play. I don't know how much I'll have of him. I think Webb is interesting at 76. He actually leads the field in bogey avoidance, so I do like him. Adam Scott's on. He played well at the Open Championship. he's a past winner here at 7,500. I think you could do a lot worse. And then Charlie Hoffman too. He's playing really good golf right now. He's consistent, and so I do like Charlie. And he played well here last year, finished third.
Yeah, Hoffman's uber consistent right now out there, so I do like that call. And if you don't like course history, guys, Adam Scott, he's like a T15 or better a lot on this. He's 7 top 25s, 5 top 10s, including a win. So
yeah,
I see your angles there for sure. I want to know more about. I want to see more that comes out on Bryson, because the only thing I'm concerned about, not about him being a donkey, because that's what Bryson does. We expect those kind of things from time to time with him. It's just he's still immature. As like him and Rahm, two of the most talented golfers out there, that still just have issues between their ears. They just can't iron out just yet. But hey, if I could play golf like that, I'll be an asshole too once in a while.
Well, did you see him on the range too at the Open Championship? Like I just saw this last week. Did you see that?
Like crying and banging his head and throwing clubs and stuff.
So weird.
I don't. Okay, I guess. Yeah, I don't condone a lot of that, but I could see where he's at. You know, he's been playing so well. He gets into the Open, gets a freak injury, he's trying to play, and every time he takes a shot, he's thinking, "I can't play," and he's starting to lose his. I could see where that's frustrating. I could that angle, but yeah, it was a little weird.
I can definitely see where that's frustrating. This is weird.
Yeah, no, it was weird. It shows his age.
It's a weird reaction.
Yeah. It's showing his age, and he to me, if I had to guess, and I know it's probably not true, but he kind of reminds me of one of those homeschool kids, single kids, where mom just kind of coddles him his whole life. Kind of reminds me of one of those. But we're going on a different path right here. So Bryson is definitely a guy I can look at 78. My biggest concern is the flight back from Europe and how he's feeling over that, and if he's all rested up. But Kuchar at 77. He was my kryptonite last week, ruined 6 of 6 lineups. Thus, I think he'll be much more low owned. He's been struggling of late, but it's a no-cut event, obviously. And he's played really well at this tournament. 3 top 10s and 8 tries, 7 top 25s in those 8 events. So 77 for Cooch, and then Webb Simpson. So I think Webb's a really good player that fits this course well. So I like that a lot. But I like your calls on Scott and Hoffman, but Simpson and Kuchar are probably my top 2, giving a little look at Bryson as well. Let's go below 7,500, where there's a handful, and I'm not going to read them all off, but some that I like, I'm going to kick this one off, is Binion. I think he might be one of the more popular ones here just because he's coming in phenomenal form. You know, he got that T2 last week. His putt on 18 for birdie knocked Keegan Bradley out of this event. That was pretty impressive. If he misses that birdie putt, Keegan's here, and Binion is not, I believe. So that was interesting at 74. Yeah. So if they tell you the Canadian Open doesn't matter, they'll tell you you're wrong. All so right. 7,400 for Binion is very interesting to me. One of my favorite plays, and this is mispriced to me. I know if you go by world rankings or whether it might not be there, but I'm pretty sure you'll be on the same page with me here. The only Ian Poulter at $7,300 is criminally underpriced to me in a tournament like this. Kevin Na at 72, I like quite a bit. That's why I said last 6 events, average DraftKings points, he was like 6th overall. Been playing some really, really good golf, including a win 2 tournaments ago, but 4 straight made cuts, a T27, a T15, a T23 in his last 3 events here. Didn't play here last year. When you think ball striking and accuracy, you think Kyle Stanley, and yeah, he's been a little hit and miss of late, but it seems like we don't have to worry about missed cuts. That's where I like this, because when he's actually competitive at events lately, he's been very, very good. So Kyle Stanley at 72, and then another interesting one, he burned everybody when he was chalkier than chalk a couple of weeks ago. But Emiliano Grillo still fits this course very, very well. $7,100. His approach game, his tee to green game, all that good stuff. I like Grillo at 7,100. So that's a handful I like there. But Poulter's my favorite in this range. What about you?
Yeah, I can't not do Poulter. I mean, I've been on him for like the last every golf tournament he's played this year. So I just keep riding that. I do like the Kevin Na call as well. I was actually going to mention him. One of my favorite players down here in this range, and I think he will be under-owned. I think a lot of people will go to Grillo and the list and Berger in that range. And I think you can get Na at lesser ownership because most people don't want to play him and don't like playing him for good reason. I did just notice that Phil Mickelson is $7,400 this week.
So Sergio Garcia.
Yeah, and Sergio. I mean, Sergio, I don't know. I just can't really with Sergio. He had a terrible Friday last week. He's got okay course history. It's not great, but 2 straight miscuts. He's just, I mean, maybe he bounces back because he's gone miscut, 8th, 12th, miscut, 70th, miscut, 4th. He's like,
hey, I guarantee you he makes the cut this week.
Yeah, he's definitely not missing the cut this week. So, I mean, I think that at 7,400, he's worth, like, him and Phil are both worth a couple lineups. Like, if again, if you're going back to the 100 in the $5 or whatever, I might have 10% of each of them. Probably not on the same team, but spread it out a little bit. I don't think they're bad plays, especially in a no-cut field. So other than that, like, Kevin Chappell's interesting. His course history is pretty decent. Obviously 13th last year, 3rd the year before, coming off a 6th at the British Open. Charles Schwartzel's another guy who has pretty good course history. He's a past champion here. He won it. No, he's not a past champion here. I take that back. He has finished 4th and 7th a couple times. So coming off a 9th at the European Open last week, he's interesting. Other than that, like in the 7th, right around 7,000, Hao Tong Lee, he's always under-owned, and he tends to make a lot of birdies. So probably have a few lineups with him.
I like it. Let's dip into the 6Ks where, like we've already been saying, a little different than normal this week. Not the suspects we like, but a couple that I like is a Brandon Steele at 6,900. Usually a little higher price than this, and he finished T24 here last year, so I like me some Steele. Animal Lahiri at $6,800 is kind of when he's striping it, he's usually striping it accurately straight down the middle of the fairway. So he's another guy I like here. And then Codera at $6,700 is another one that's kind of stands out. He's a better ranking than his price tag dictates, and because I really don't like much of all down here. So I'm going to try to stay out of it the best I can. But if I have to, I like Steele, Lahiri, Codera are the ones I'm looking at in the 6K range. What about you, Jesse? I know one of your favorites is sitting up.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is you can take some shots down here, and there's a pretty good chance one of these guys is going to, top 20. So if he does, and you pick that guy right, you're going to be pretty well ahead of the field, because these guys will be super low owned comparatively to everybody else. Kiradech, obviously, he shows up in no-cut events. In big field events like this. So I do like him. Siwoo Kim's interesting at 68. And I mean, that's pretty much about it for me. Like it's really weird looking at the rankings on my model versus the price, and like all these guys are literally like where they should be. It's really strange.
Yeah, nothing really stands out like weeks past. So.
Me neither. Yeah, I'm with you. Lahiri, I can deal with that. I could deal with Lahiri, like you said. Steele would be okay too, but I don't know. Kiradech's probably about the only one I'll roster down here with maybe a sprinkle of Siwoo Kim.
Yeah. All right, we went through the 73-man field. Let's talk about some of our more like concentrated plays here. Give me a couple of your punts, Jesse. You can go 75 or below because we don't really like the 6Ks.
Yeah, so below 75, Poulter would be one, obviously. Kevin Na would be my favorite, though.
Yeah, my two are Poulter and Na, so we're on the same page there. Like I always say, people, we don't share our notes before the event.
We don't talk about nothing until we get on this podcast. We don't talk about anything.
Yes, we talk about a lot of things. We just don't talk about the DraftKings slate.
Right.
But that'll be the interesting one. Who is your bust of the week?
Bust of the week. I'm just going to stick to my guns and go Ricky Fowler.
Yeah, I like that. You can probably guess mine, but it's Tiger Woods. If you'd like me to pick another, I can. But 10-8 for Tiger. He's got to win the damn thing. And we talked about it, and he showed it again at the Open. I want him to win. I really want him to win. He just hasn't put it together yet.
Well, he's going to be super high on too. I mean, like
that's the other thing.
He's
going to bury a bunch of lineups.
For me, like you're either hammering him like did DJ last week, or you're just backing off and hoping that he finishes 30th or worse.
Exactly, all or nothing type deal.
Mm-hmm.
Last but not least, it's still early. It's Monday night. What are your core players of the week? A couple of them.
Yeah, that's a really good question again. I do like Rory this week. I think I'll play quite a bit of Rory, Paul Casey, and then Kevin Na. Just feeling the Kevin Na this week. So
I like it. For sure, kind of my early two-man look, as I'm still kind of liking, and Na might go in to make this a 3. My two-man's going to be ZJ and Poulter. Those will be staples. and then going from there. But I also look at it because if you go ZJ Poulter, throw some gnaw in there, we might be able to do that Molly Fleetwood combo and make it really interesting.
Yeah.
And now I just made it very chalky, but it'll be very interesting to see how that turns out, because I kind of like that the more we've talked about it on the podcast. So that'll be really interesting. All right, give me your winner or winners. Who are two? Give me two guys you like to win a kind of not long shot and long shot like we like to do.
So long shot, like not long
and
shot,
and not named DJ. Okay, give me like someone 30 or better and someone past 30.
All right, 30 or better. It's interesting. Like, so Justin Thomas opened up, I think 33-1 on Bovada, and he's already down to 25. But I mean, I don't know that I like him to actually win. So to win, besides DJ, would be Rory. Long shot to win. I'll go with Xander. He's 645-1. Yeah.
Okay.
It's bound to happen for him sometime.
Yeah, he's been playing really well. He likes to show up at these events.
He does.
We'll see. Outside of DJ, everybody's got to preface it now. Now I know what people felt like during the Tiger Woods era.
Yeah, right.
People are going to think I'm crazy and they're going to think I'm biased here, but I really like Francisco Molinari at this course. I really, really do. So I like Molly to win. And if not, I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to go Alexander Noren.
I like it.
I think he can be interesting as he's starting to get back into form. And in years past, he's always played better in this later part of the season. So someone to keep an eye on as well. With that being said, Jesse, any final thoughts on the Bridgestone or the Barracuda coming up, the great scoring event that is the Barracuda in Reno?
I got no thoughts on the Barracuda. I have absolutely zero ideas even playing in it, besides a few people. And then this week, it'll be fun to watch. A lot of good golfers. And then next week we've got the PGA Championship, and the FedEx Cup is right around the corner, man. Yeah,
the season is crazy quickly winding down, which is wild. And for those that are still listening this late in the podcast, we do appreciate listening. As I told Jesse last week, we got our 1-year Twitter anniversary, so that means we've been doing this podcast for a little over a year now. So it's pretty awesome, actually, when you think about it. So thank you for all of you guys to listen. If you want to give us a rate and review, much appreciated.
Yep.
But if not, all good. Much appreciated. But with that being said, Jesse's on Twitter at DFS Golf Gods. I am at BD Intric. The podcast is at the Always Press PGA DFS. Go check it all out. Enjoy the weekend. No cut sweats going on for you, so you can rest on that, but still watch some really, really good golf. And we'll be back with you guys next week. This was the Always Pressing PGA DFS podcast previewing the 2018 WGC Bridgestone Invitational.